Hello, we are here for one more lesson of this T-Flex CAD training course, and the topic for today will be customizing the drawing. In our last lesson we've seen how to customize and where to customize the system. Now we will see where to customize the drawing which we are working or that we can set for a future use. So we can call the dialog box in two ways, writing down ST and doing enter, and we will get again, and sorry, and we will get this dialog box. Okay, here it is. Or in option we can go in this top area, so we can click here and the same dialog box will appear. So in this dialog box we can set a lot of options, a lot of settings of our drawing, both 2D, 3D. Again, as in our previous lesson, these are many options, so we will see briefly and the main ones only. You should consult our theoretical course where all the options are explained in detail, so because otherwise if we spoke about every option it will be a very long lesson and the purpose will be lost. So starting 3D, we have a couple of options here about the setting for units related to mass, length, force. Also settings for how to work with the work planes, if we want these settings as ISO or ANSI. Display options also. Again, we can see every time we choose one line of this area, depending on what is shown. We have an explanation in this area below. Work plane font also, setting the size. Regarding the quality of what is shown in terms of more round or more smooth or not, so image quality. We can have all these different grades possible. The standard is a good compromise between speed and quality, so we can go up or down. The same for the edge tolerances, faces or angle tolerances. Then options for 3D in terms of the views of the coordinate system, addition of parameters, so you can set this on or not. Fixed set in Windows also. Relating to transparency, if we select, or we can select or not transparent faces, and regarding mates for some calculation methods and times for these operations. So annotations. So we have a couple of parameters regarding the fonts, the sizes and widths, whatever. So this is quite easy. And then we can go to dimensions. Basically the same configuration also regarding units, scales, dimensions, the standards. Units also for angular and linear dimensions, alternative scales to have both. So, and we have these for the alternative dimensions also. Symbology, so we have different codes that we can choose for different options, in this case degree, diameters, plus minus, so we can open this list and choose a different one. Regarding the detailing of elements, so leaders, texts and section view, so we have a couple of options also for these different elements in your drawing. Regarding the views also, for the selection, the textures for the views, the size for 3D nodes, for the local coordinate systems and the arrows, and the colors also related to the views. The cameras of the user, so the look or the appearance of the camera, or what we can do with the camera. How to work with 2D fragments, so in terms of assigning priorities, and how to work with these fragments in terms of edition, insertion in layers, whatever, a couple of things that will control the behavior of a 3D fragment. In terms of 3D fragment, basically the same questions, because it's also something that we will insert in our drawing to create an assembly. How to work with sections, okay, in terms of the 3D fragments inserted. The management for large assemblies. So we have a couple of possibilities like these. Do not show smaller parts than smaller, and you can activate and choose a number. Performance, so for calculations. External variables in terms of which editor to use, if an internal one inside T-Flex, or an external program or under a control. This is something that we will see in greater detail when we talk about the use and how to work with variables. Naming rules for all of these elements, okay? Work planes, dialog boxes, text, whatever. And save options, where we can say saving manually or doing some automation. The previews also, wides and heights for the previews, and a couple of options also for the save itself. Regarding the page, so paper, so format and dimensions for the paper, units, whatever. If we work with different zones in paper, so we can have different configurations for these different zones. Fonts, it's similar to what is up here in 3D, because we can have dimensions also in 2D and 3D, so we have different settings for each of the options. It's similar to what we've seen before. Lines, so the thickness of lines, the other lines, and so on. Something about what is created under the graphic lines in 2D. Regarding views, also similar to what is up here. So precisions and units for linear, angular. Fragments, also the behavior of fragments. Symbology, the same as up here. Detailing of elements, also elements for this graphical treatment of entities in 2D. And finally, the colors, so what is defined for several things, several elements inside the 2D, like this outline, the grids, the nodes, the background, whatever. So we can open each one of these as you've seen before, so, and choose under the palettes that we have available. So these are options to work and to customize the drawing instead of the system. We can create these settings and use them for the future as prototype values for each time we need these different settings for the future. So more details about all of these options, you can send us a contact through the usual ways, or consult the theoretical course where everything is explained in greater detail.